Hi everyone, so I wanted to give a quick introductory video to how to use Jets here. In this video, I'm going to build a quick quintessential CRUD app. That's, I guess, the main app that people usually get started with when they're building a web application here with this type of framework. So, okay, first thing is installation. Pretty boring stuff, but let's go through it real quick. So you're going to need to install Jets via Rubygems. So that's just gems install Jets. And then for that, you're going to need Ruby. And you need actually Ruby 2.5 or variants of it or above. So if you don't have that, I recommend RBENV to install Ruby, and then you'll have the version that kind of you need. I'm going to show you here a Ruby RBENV version. You see I've installed 2.51. Okay, you're also going to need Node and Yarn. So in order to install Node, I also recommend another version manager, NVM, and you can use that to install. I will recommend the version of Node that's AWS Lambda is using, so that way you at least stick close to what AWS Lambda is using. I think it's like 8 point something or 0.8. Okay, so let's get started now. So Jets is already installed. So instead, I'm going to go Jets-H for help. And then you can see the help menu kind of generate out here. And there's one command that I want to focus on is Jets new. So Jets new-H here too. Then you can see that tells you exactly what to do. It tells you Jets new demo. You can also see this documentation on the CLI reference here. So you go down here to the CLI reference, click on Jets new, and then you can see, look at that, same documentation, right? It's just a web form there. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that command now, Jets new demo. So I'll explain what this command is doing. So first thing it does is it creates a stellar file. Then it does a bundle install. That's what it's doing. Then it's installing a Webpacker right there. And then Webpacker has its own installation process. So Webpacker basically generates some files there, and then it installs a bunch of node modules. So that's going to take a little time here as it installs, but it's doing that off the bat. And then also, I'm going to scroll up here since it's done now. It initializes Git repository and then does your first commit. And then it provides you a congratulations message and it tells you some instructions here. So let's follow some of these instructions. So cd into demo. And then that tells you it's going to start a server. So normally you start a server on localhost there, but I'm going to actually do it. I'm going to bind it to this host because I'm running this on Cloud 9. And so let's get that started. That starts, and then now I actually have this DNS record connected already. So let's refresh this, and there you go. We just actually generate a Jets app there. So let's actually see where this page is coming from. Why don't we start with that, okay? Let's see where that page is coming from. We'll go to the demo here. Remember, all the files got generated here in the public folder. Here's the index file. So the index file, now we can kind of split this a little bit so we can kind of read it. And here it is. Here's the welcome. And to show you that this is it, let's say getting started, hello. Okay, I just changed that. Now refresh this. So we're going to see getting started, hello. See, it changed. Okay, and then now this getting started page gives you some more instructions to actually generate the CRUD app that we want to do in this tutorial video here. So we'll go ahead and run this. This is a scaffold. So if you're familiar with Rails, then this is kind of very familiar. I'm going to actually leave the server running, but I'm going to start another tab there. And then I'm going to go ahead and cd into the demo project again and generate the scaffold. So it's generating the scaffold. So let's see some of these files. Let's explore around and see actually what's going on, right? So let's go here. Oh, and also the initial files. We should look at the initial files that got generated. So let's just start from top to down. Okay. So it generated application controller initially, and this post controller got generated with the scaffold. So we'll just go through here. So here's the scaffold here's the controller that scaffold generator, and you can see there's a before a filter here. There's an index action and calling post model and calling .all. This post model, that's an active record because I think that's the default. So right here, let's go look at post, and we'll kind of split it next to each other. See, here's the post model right here, and here's some application record. So what the application record looks like, that's active record. Okay, there's also this application item that's actually DynamoDB by this other library called Dynamite. Okay. So that's what was generated there. Then there's the views. The views are kind of useful here. So let's go explore the views. So here's the layout. I'm just kind of trying to put this side by side so we can kind of get an understanding of how this all works. Okay, here's the application layout. And there's the yield statement there. So that's what's going to be kind of inserted to this layout. So let's go look at index. Let's put that right here. So this index guy right here is going to be inserted into this yield statement right here in the application layout. So let's actually make some changes. So why don't we go ahead and before we make some changes, why don't we actually get the application running? Okay, so what we did was we generated Scaffold. Okay, let's go back to instructions. Okay, we need to create the database. Okay, so I had already created this database, so I'm going to drop it real quick. Now I'm going to create it again, jets db drop. So I'm going to drop the database real quick. And also, while the database is dropping there, I'm going to actually show you the configuration file for the database. So here's the configuration file for the database. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here, so hopefully this is useful. Okay, so there's the database default. So there's some reasonable defaults here. You can override these settings with environmental variables, but these, if your system set up like the default Postgres setup, probably is going to work with this. So anyway, so I dropped the database because I ran this before and I had one and I knew it, so I just decided to drop it. Now I'm going to continue with this tutorial now. db create. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the database. Okay, and migrate the database at the same time. So I created the database and I migrated it. So what it did was it ran a migration, and the migration was created up here. So why don't we take a look at the migration? Open. So I'm opening up that migration file. It's open now. And we can see, and here's what the migration file looks like. And remember that migration file is generated from the scaffold right here, right? Same with all these view files and everything else. Okay, so we just ran that migration, which creates a post table and adds with a title column there. So we ran that migration. Then now it says to start the server again. I just want to remind you that the server is running right here. So I'm just going to go back and kind of refresh now. And actually, not just refresh, go to the endpoint posts. This is the scaffold that we just generated. So there it is. So let's actually create some records real quick. Post one. Okay, and then let's go back. Post 2. Okay. Alrighty. Alright, and let's go back to the index. And then let's explore some of these view files again. Let's make some modifications. So this is the post index view file it's rendering. So let's actually find that. So here's the post index, and I'm going to show you where that is in the hierarchy. Here's the demo app, and it goes down to index here. So here it is, and here's where I said, okay, let's make some modifications. So hello world, okay? So oops, let's spell it right. All right, there we go. I modified it, I saved it, and I'm going to refresh it, and that should show up right there. So that's what we're doing right there. We're modifying those files, and let's look at similar with these other files. Let's look at the edit form. Here's the edit form, just renders that. Let's look at the there's also this form actually, because the edit form is like, you can see it's rendered. It's rendering a partial form here, and then I'm just showing you the partial form right there. Okay, there's the show here. I guess we already made some modifications, but that's kind of essentially it there. Let's see. Let's actually look at the post controller too. So another thing I want to show you was in the documentation here, it talks about something called event. So raw lambda event available. What's that all about? Okay, so this looks, if you guys are familiar with Rails, this looks like a traditional Rails app, but it's actually not. It's these methods right here, these controller methods, they're going to be transformed to lambda functions. So I'm going to talk about that in kind of follow-up video, but the important thing is you're going to have kind of a lambda context around this function. So that's what event is. That's the raw event from the lambda that gets passed in from API gateway to lambda. So what we're doing when we run this server here locally is this local server mimics API gateway, and it mimics the payload that gets sent to API gateway. So you can actually see it right here. It shows it right here. The event right here says processing post index, and then it shows you kind of the event payload. So you could also, if you wanted to, I guess we'll just do it, print out event right here. Okay, so let's just print out event. Let's go here and let's refresh. And you're going to see it in kind of pretty form here. There. So you can see the full event now. I just printed out there. I'm going to go ahead and delete it now. But that payload is the payload that is the same structure that API Gateway sends to AWS Lambda. So that's just mimicking that. So you basically, remember, at the end of the day, these Ruby methods here, they get translated into AWS Lambda functions. So I just want to point that out. Let's see if there's anything else that's maybe useful there. parameters are available. Parameters is really interesting because the parameters method is just it's actually just grabbing the parameters from the event, right? So it's just actually it inspects what it's in events and then it parses it out for you. Let's see what else. And then you could have all your render actions here, so you could render this in JSON if you wanted to. Why don't we just render this in JSON real quick, just so you guys see what it looks like. Render JSON post. Okay, so I'm just render on JSON, refresh. Okay, so now this is now JSON. Okay, let me comment that out. Now it renders the regular action. So there it goes. Okay, let's see what else. I think that is it for this video. We basically, to summarize, what we did is we generate a new CRUD app, then we start up, or we generate a new app, then we use the scaffold to generate a CRUD app. We explore the files that the generator is created here. We made some modifications till we can start to kind of mentally piece together how this all fits together. Then we start up a local server, and then we made some edits and changes just so we can get a feel for how things kind of work locally here. And that's in the next video. I'm gonna actually connect this to. We're gonna deploy this application to AWS Lambda and API gateway, and then we could explore the AWS side of things. So then we could kind of connect everything together. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you guys like videos like this, please share it to encourage more content like this. If you want to watch more future videos like this, subscribe. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Cheers.